with the Ground and Pound Show, and we have with us tonight the Bushido Dojo. And from Bushido Dojo, main instructor Jeff Henry. Welcome, Jeff.
How are you? Good to be here.
I learned about your dojo from Dustin Severs, who was kind enough to join us from Domain MMA as well.
How's it going? Good to be here.
Good. And you brought one of your fighters, your MMA fighters, who I've met in the past. We met at, it's not called Sudden Impact at the time. It was
Steel Warriors.
Steel Warriors promotion. Jason English. Welcome, Jason.
Appreciate it. How you doing tonight?
Doing good. So, Jeff, tell us a little bit about Bushido Dojo and where you guys are at and what you guys do.
It mainly started out, Brian Little, who from the Dojo, third degree black belt master, he kind of had a karate thing going there, and we kind of met up, and I wanted to start an MMA program there, and it kind of worked out really well. And we kind of started from scratch, picked up some fighters. Jason was kind of in the karate program a little bit, and had a lot of talent as far as an athlete, had a good desire to fight. And, we started with Jason and worked our way up, and now we put together a pretty decent little fight team.
Excellent. So, Jason, you started with traditional martial arts?
Yes, sir. Ishinru.
Very cool. How was the changeover from Ishinru to MMA? And I guess you had something to do with, you didn't just step in from Ishinru into MMA as far as fighting. I guess you trained them with some MMA?
It took about a year. I mean, I think it was at least a year of training before we were, one thing we kind of determined right off the bat is any fighter we put in the cage, we made sure they were trained fighters. We didn't want to put people in the cage that were,
We love hearing that, seriously.
I mean,
more and more we hear, you're only seeing quality guys, even in these amateur events.
which should be. I mean, nobody wants to watch a kid get in there.
And who hasn't fought before? And man, just a couple years ago, you'd see that at least at every event, you'd see a couple of them.
Well, there's actually good promoters out there that are instituting policy, no independence. You got to come from a legitimate fight team or don't fight on the show. That's a good policy.
No, I think it's a good policy too. I mean, you have a few independent fighters out there that are quality.
It is minorities.
Yeah, very much a minority.
Yeah.
And you know who they are. So.
Yeah.
And even then, they'd be better if they fought out of a school.
Much
Well said, Jay.
That's no question about it.
They're selling themselves short. We're not having people to train with and somebody to
No
push them.
question about it.
So they're the ones coming out short end of the stick.
You hear people say, "Oh, wait, no, it's an amateur show." No, you can be a bad fighter if you be a trained fighter. There's a lot of trained fighters out there that aren't very good, and that's fine. They can be in there, but that'd be trained. I know.
But at least they're trained.
Game, absolutely.
Yeah,
Not
that's-
enough fan contest. It just makes the sport look horrible. I hate to see it.
Yeah, I agree. And it does. It takes it back to that point where it looks like it's just a brawl, or just two people fighting. There's no sport involved.
Yeah,
At that
I mean,
point.
the new viewers are looking like there's nothing to this.
Well, the worst is when it's a massacre.
Yeah.
The guy who's there that beats them up and chokes them, and you're like, I paid for that.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about that once before, and Jason kind of went through that. My son who fights with us, and he went through that, and me and Dustin talked about it. I think some of the worst thing can happen to you is you get in there with a couple of independent fighters who have no clue how to fight, and they're going against trained fighters. The fight ends in about 35 seconds, and the trained fighter starts thinking, oh, this is amateur, it's no big deal, I don't have to work hard for these fights. Next thing you know, he steps in with another real amateur fighter, and you know what, it doesn't go so well.
No,
So that's
they get the wrong impression for sure.
you just don't need it on both ends.
Yeah. I always say the litmus test to see if a show's legitimate, and see how many fights go past the first round. You get two guys off the street, you can watch a street fight that's over in 30 seconds. So you have two independent fighters fight, you're having nothing but 30-second first round fight. Just look at the card after the show. It's all first round fights. Not a legitimate show. You got a bunch of clowns in there fighting. You get shows, Jim Jenkins shows, cage championships. And legally, those fights are going 2 rounds.
I was just out of the room. Did you guys say that when I was out there, though?
No, I always tell that about Jim. That's why I consider him one of the best, not only promoters but matchmakers, is because so many fights go into the third round, not just the second round. They go 3 rounds.
Only trained fighters can fight multiple rounds.
Oh, that's for
Trained
sure.
fighters can't do that.
You're not going to laugh.
You know what? The only time I'll get an independent fighter on my card, and like this one coming up, I probably got 25, 27, 28 fighters, I think, something like that. But is if it comes down to I really need one for the trained fighter that's a new guy.
Yeah,
like you have a new guy, and you need them, but the ones I use come recommended. They've already, they come recommended from somebody that I know. And
They're few and far between, though. I mean, they're getting to be fewer and far.
And
we're finding more of those guys are finding their ways to training facilities.
Well,
facilities.
there's enough training facilities, good and bad, expensive and inexpensive out there, that you can find somewhere to learn something until you find your real home. You know, I mean, there's almost no reason to be an independent anymore.
You know what the independent fighters find out when they go try to search out a place is whether they want to fight or not.
Right.
You know, Jason can tell you how many, and Dustin, I'm sure, has gone through the same thing, how many people in the last couple of years we've gone through that have come in the door with, you know, body full of tattoos and, you know, they're going to be the next,
It's bringing back memories, isn't it?
I mean, that's what people think that there's a tough guy is, you know, to get a bunch of tattoos, get a couple piercings, and take it, you know, buy a heavy bag, and then they're a fighter. Well, they come in, they train for a week, and find out, you know what, this really isn't sometimes a lot of fun when I'm, you know.
They also find out they're not as good as they thought they were.
Yeah, they.
That's the hard part. When they sit there and they go, damn,
Yeah.
I thought I was the toughest guy on the block. They lived on a small block.
Well, we even said that
They
real
just don't come
briefly.
back.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do a lot of kickboxing and Muay Thai shows over the years back in the late 90s, and it was always that way. Somebody at the end of our show, man, you gotta get my buddy on the card. He's the toughest dude. And I would just tell him, here's my card, show up at the gym, you know, Monday or next week, call me. And when they come in, the one thing I'd say, I said, well, it's a 2-minute round. There's the gloves, there's the bag. I just want to see what you got. And every one of them would try and clobber it and show you how damn tough they were. In 30 seconds, they gassed.
Yeah.
Out of all the years I did fights, I've had 10 guys show up at the gym, and not one of them have ever come back a
The
second
bag is
time.
always undefeated.
The bag kicked their ass. 2 minutes. I mean, they're clubbing that thing like, you know, and then they're
2 minutes
sucking
on a bag
wind.
is
And
hard work.
I'm like, go no smoke, guys.
Right.
It'll be all right.
You know, I just started watching that show, Beat Down, the Bully
Yeah.
Beat Down.
Beat Down.
I never heard of it.
You're right. You and I are right in their demographics, Jay.
And it's great. I tell you what,
It
it's
is a great
interesting to
show.
see these guys come in, and some of them are pretty good, some of them really suck.
Yeah.
But you see them come in, the guy says, "Come to my club," and they're surprised that they show up.
I like to watch me.
They don't show how many people don't show up. But obviously, they don't make the movie out of that.
I love to
They make
hear.
the movies that come in and they come and they hit the bag and they do everything. They puts them in the guard. They say, "Now, what would you do here?" And a lot of them sit there and they do something, and at least they're trying. But it's interesting to see just what they do, and then it's surprised they come back and they show up for the fight, and they still gives them an out.
I like when they say they won't tap. Oh, tap
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
tap.
Oh.
Yeah, he laughs.
Yeah, they fought, that one guy fought Andre Arlovsky. I couldn't believe he got into the match. I mean, you see that guy across the ring, you gotta be going, shit.
Now, Andre understood. You gotta hurt this guy because it's a
Oh,
bully, and you gotta beat him up.
Yeah,
It's
but
a
this other
sub
guy,
guy.
he beat
I
the
think
crap
they
out
beat
of
the
him.
crap out of this
Yeah,
guy.
yeah,
He's here
yeah.
to beat up the bully,
I
and
saw
they didn't
somebody
beat
get
up
their
the
head
bully.
kicked off in a promo.
I love to watch Mayhem Miller fight, but I can't stand his canned laugh that he does every 5 seconds.
I was wondering.
He's
when he was
enjoying
gonna fight.
himself.
That's Mayhem Miller?
Yeah, that's Mayhem.
Well,
Yeah.
he is definitely enjoying beating up the
Oh,
bully.
yeah.
He enjoys himself, and I've gotten to like him. I've gotten to
Yeah.
like the whole show a
I
little
just can't
bit.
stand that fake laugh. Every
Oh yeah,
5
it's
seconds.
awful, but he's doing it. You were gonna say something before I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. It's an interesting concept. It just shows you how far MMA's going in the mainstream, and you know.
Well, trained is trained, and that's what you're gonna find out is these guys aren't trained.
But I mean, you got a show like that on MTV2 or whatever it's on now, and you know, just to show how mainstream it's getting.
Right.
You know.
Oh, definitely so. Jeff, now you brought the MMA to Bushido Dojo. What's your background in MMA?
Background really was really from wrestling. I started with the wrestling base, and I still like to work everything from that base. And I was lucky enough when I was growing up to be around some great fighters and some health club facilities I trained with. I had a lot of great fighters and boxers. Arthur Jimerson fought in UFC 1. He's been a great friend of mine for years and years, and all the boxing, you know, learned from him basically. And you know, just was able to kind of start learning the jiu-jitsu to go along with the wrestling. It was a great fit. So over the years, it kind of all came together to what it is now, where I'm too old to fight, but I can at least, you know, work with guys and teach guys. And
Has most of your training come in the St. Louis area then?
yes,
Where's your club at?
it's right in St. Charles. It's right off Highway 94. It sits right below Skate Galaxy out off Highway 94. It's kind of obscure and hard to see. There's a Gold's Gym on the other side of the highway, is what I tell people.
How about 94 Wolfram?
Okay.
Yeah,
94.
right there.
And so where is it at?
Right behind Twisters. Where Twisters is?
Sure.
Right behind Twisters.
Okay.
Right on that road.
Now, we have a theory that there is a bar, like right across the street from every dojo.
Oh, for sure.
You can't get away from it. I've been involved in a couple schools that it was right in the same plaza, and it's like, guys, this place over here is off limits. I don't care what it is, because if you go over there after there's some idiot that wants to, you know.
And my favorite place is Brian Guidry's. He's in the motorcycle gang place right
Oh,
there.
really?
He's down at
Is that
Shane and
Broadway?
Jack's on Broadway.